Hey, good Monday afternoon, everybody. This is Jason with JR Custom Designs. I've got it. I'm gonna start doing a couple new videos to kind of catch up on the updates and improvements that have been made to the tools and jigs that I've made for the Boss lasers. The first tool or first jig system, whatever you want to call it, that I'll be talking about is the serial clamping jig. Okay, now there's a couple things that have changed on this. Um, Mainly just the profile and everything over time of having people use these out in the real world above and beyond my testing. We've come to a few issues, not really issues, but things that could help avoid an issue um, in the future. So a couple of those being are the clamps. Okay, these clamps, they have a lower profile compared to the old ones. Okay, let me get this background off of here. It's not working very well for me. Thought I'd play around with it, but it's not working for this purpose. So, all right, much better. All right, so what I have here is the clamping system, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of what it was and what it is now. Um, so first, we'll start off with the clamps. All right, these are the new clamps. They don't look much different than the old ones. I did on the top. One of them is branded with my logo. The other one says back. The old ones had a B on there, but that wasn't obvious enough, so I put it back. That's for the back blade clamp, furthest from the opening of the machine. All right. So a couple things have changed about these. First thing is the side profile. You can see that I've removed quite a bit of material from it, and in doing this, I've allowed for more room on the bed, especially for smaller machines, because this has been upgraded to include all machines. So even if you have a 3655 like I do, it'll still help save some room and everything on the bed. And if you have a 1420 or 1416, it'll allow you to use it without taking up too much real estate that's otherwise pretty valuable. The next thing you notice is the height. Right? There's a substantial height difference in this, and the reason for this change was more so to do with um, clearance issues. All right. Now this was designed because I use the 2-inch or the 4-inch lens, but I use a 2-inch lens on the bottom of the housing. And with this, it gives it plenty of clearance. But if you're running a stock setup, this is I don't know, 10 or 11 inches or millimeters. So the clearance is not there. So if you go to home and one of these is in the way, guess what? Your laser's going to hit it. And a couple people, or one person had that issue, and so now it's been addressed, and these have come out. So now you have about a, excuse me, you have 3.7 millimeters above the bed, and that should be sufficient to clear any nozzle in any configuration when you're running your laser. So that way you don't have to worry about these being in the way when you go to home. Um, these will actually take place of the bigger ones and lower the clearance on it so you don't have to worry about it hitting. So those are the two major differences in the old version and the new version when it comes to the clamps themselves. Just the size difference in general. All right. So the other thing is the hold down clamps themselves. Okay. So here's the old one here. You can see how big it is. All right, and then here's the new one. Profile is a lot slimmer. The head is a little bit skinnier, not by much. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not even at all. But nonetheless, those are 4.2 millimeters thick. So they'll sit 4.2 millimeters above your bed or your material that you're clamping down. And typically a Boss laser has about a 5 ooh, 5 to 8 millimeter clearance with a stock setup. So this doesn't really give you any more clearance vertically because it's not really a need for it. But what it does is it gives you a lot more room on the bed. So if you look here, quite a bit of meat that's been taken out of it. Slim it down, and also this way. All right, it has the same functionality, same purpose, um, but it just allows for a uh, more room on your bed, so you're not taking up as much when you're using them. All right, so that is how those are. Now, I'm going to take you over to the bed, and I'm going to show you how this works, how it's done, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. Obviously, there's probably not many people going to be on here because it is during working hours, but I'm going to try to demonstrate this the best I can. And if you have questions, you can ask afterwards, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, so what we have here is a very wobbly piece of wood. All right, I have the whole setup here, which is the full kit, which is six clamps, 6 blade clamps, and 6 material clamps, and they're opposite sides. All right, so that way you can use them on either end, depending on how you have your material set up on the sides or the back or the front, or up here in the front or the back. I'll kind of show you that as I go along. They have thumb screws on them. I'm going to show you how the thumb screws work on the first go around, and then I'm going to take them off and move the clamps around and kind of show you the different configurations you can use for this. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this with the camera. See how bowed that piece of wood is. Got a pretty bad bow to it. Alright, see that? Got a really bad warp to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, since it flares up on the outsides, I like to lay it down, if I can, with the high spot in the center. And then what we're going to do is we're going to position this. We're going to take a blade and on the right hand side you want to make the blade profile like this. You want the point to the on the left hand side. You're going to stick it right next to there. Alright. Now take your blade clamps, get one that says back and one that says front, or one that says JER. Alright. So this blade right here, I'm sorry I had this backwards. So this blade right here is just support. That's what you're going to be pinning your material to. The one next to it is the one that you actually want to anchor to. Alright, so let me move my head out of the way here. I gotta raise the bed. You want to make sure the bed's raised up when you're putting these clamps on, because if you don't, they won't fit on there properly and you can break them, damage them. So I'm going to turn this down so you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, so you want the bed to be raised up. You're going to look for the clamp that says JER3D on it. That's going to go on your front. That's going to go right here. And if you look at how it's positioned, that's how it goes on. Then you just take your thumb, push on the corner, snap it down in place. You'll hear it click, and it's done. Then you're going to do the same thing on the far end. Same thing, click, it's in place. Now your blades won't go nowhere. They won't pull up out of there. So that gives you a good anchoring point for mounting your material clamps, which are right here. All right, so what I'm going to do is you take the thumb screws out, you slide it down over the blade, put your thumb screw back in it. You're going to go down at the other end. You could put as many. The kit comes with 6. Ideally 3 for each side, or 2 for each corner and 2 for each side here. So what you want to do is you want to find a place to mount your material. Then you're going to come over to the other side, over here, and locate where you need to stick the blade on this side. So there's your support blade, and this blade, the profile, the point is on the right hand side. You know, set it right next to it. Now you have that all set. Now I'm going to take my other 2 clamps, place them on, thumb screw back in, and repeat that for the back one. Alright, so now you got your clamps in place. Now what you're going to do is you're going to center up your material however you want to do it, however you want to square it, it's up to you. I start with one side, push it all the way down on the material. Well, I guess it'd help if I did this first. Alright, so I'm going to clamp down this one here the same way I did the other one. Just lock it down in there. And you can see how the weight or the pressure is already wanting to lift that up out of the place, and that's what these clamps do. They help prevent that from happening. So we'll go ahead, put that one in its place, lock it in. Alright, so now you focus on attaching the board. Okay, so we got the pressure down on top of the clamp. Then you're going to tighten your thumb screw down. That's going to lock it on this blade and hold that board down. Do the same thing on the far end. Alright, now that's clamped down tight. Now if you look at this side, if we take these out, you can see how much is on there, how warped that is. Alright, so now what you do is go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Put your downward pressure, tighten your clamps. The clamps don't have to be too awful tight. You want them tight enough not so they won't slide, but aside from that, you don't want to tighten them too much to strip them out or break them. Alright, so now you see there's like a little bow here in the center. So what we can do to fix that is put one more piece in here, lock down the center. And the same thing over here. This one's just being a little tricky as well. Same thing. Put on there, tighten down. Now you have a nice flat piece of wood. Gaps all the way across, no gaps. Sorry about the lighting. But anyways, so that's one way to handle a piece of warped wood. Now, the other way that I'd like to show is go ahead and loosen these all up. All that pressure on there. All right. All right. That's up. All right. So now let's say you have the top that you can't. That's the good side, let's say, and you need to use this side in order to make the piece you're making. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move this over one, move this over one, reposition everything, put my clamps back in, remember front and back. All right. So now you got the bow in the middle. So you could do this either way. You could do it with it across this way, or you could do it across this way. That's where the fifth and sixth clamp come in, where you could put a clamp in the middle on each side and pull it down in the center, depending on how the orientation is on your bed. So that way you can pull that bow out. It's right there in the middle. So go ahead and put our downward pressure on there. Come do the same thing on this side. And now the bow in the middle of your board's gone. All right. And then this way, in this instance, you don't have to use that many clamps because the bow is in the middle. So you're just pulling the middle down to flatten out the sides. All right. That is that. If you have any questions, let me know. I know I went over this pretty quick. But just to recap, your blade clamps right here. These also, when you're installing these on your bed, I should have said this before we started, but when you're installing these on your bed, if your knife blades are not flat or close to flat on your bed, and there should be about a millimeter, which accounts for the ruler on the other side of the bed. So you should feel a little bit of a lip right there on this side. If your blades aren't like that, and you try to force these on, you will break them. Okay. These are meant and designed to be functional with the blades narrowly level with the bed, which is about a millimeter above the surface. And you can use these clamps to do that by just putting them on there, loosening up your bolts along the front here. These little Allen heads. All right. Allen head right there. You get the idea. Anyways, the Allen heads that hold the blade rack in, you can loosen those up and adjust it, make sure it has a good fit. Like I said, otherwise you'll break the clamps, and that's not good. So I'm gonna leave it at that. If you guys are interested in any of this stuff, you can go to my page, jercustomdesigns.com/shop, and it's under JER Tools, JER Custom Tools, and I'll also put a link in the description when I'm done with the video. That way you can check it out. This is the updated version 2. Version 2 is basically just the cosmetic changes that were made to make it more user friendly on all machines. And that's pretty much it.